When did we record last?
2 weeks ago.
What was the date?
Well, it was I think like the fourth. Hang on a
10-4?
second. 5, 10, 5.
10-5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So everything after 10-5.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
That's a lot of freaking kernels.
All right, say hello to everybody on YouTube.
Hello, everybody
Hello.
on
Hi.
YouTube.
This is the Sunday Morning Linux Review, and here goes the intro.
The Sunday Morning Linux Review, starring Mary Talmadge, Tony Venus, and Matt Enders as the Beaver.
All right.
Yeah,
All
and this is
right.
episode 137.
Ohio Linux Fest
The
Getting
Ohio
ready.
Linux
next
Fest.
week.
Next week.
Yeah,
That's right.
Gonna be there.
Yeah, me too.
Pretending we like Ohio.
that's right. Ohio's cool.
Matt.
Come on. Ohio's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah. So we're gonna be there this next weekend, and it's gonna be fun. Um, the PCBSD folks, they posted a blog posting. I think it was yesterday that they're gonna have a presence there. I think a table probably, and
Yeah. Well,
there's-
they come them and the
Mhm.
FreeBSD Foundation both come every year. Like
Yeah.
Rackspace is always a big sponsor too.
Yeah.
On Friday afternoon, I think I want to say it's at 3 o'clock, but don't quote me on that. Um, Ken Moore, who is the developer of the Lumina desktop, is going to be talking about it. So that's on Friday. I think the major part of the convention itself starts on Saturday, but there's some early bird specials on Friday. So
Yeah, they have one of their keynotes on Friday and
mhm.
like an introductory thing.
So should be fun. I'm looking forward
And
to
then
it.
they usually have that diversity workshop on Sunday, and then that's it. The con's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And then they also do tests and stuff.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you want
the
to take
test.
some exam tests
Well,
on
that's
Sunday.
Friday
but
too. Is if you paid the
Professional learning
for
stuff.
the yeah, we did that one year.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
a
I thought it was fun.
entire waste of money.
Oh, I don't think it was a waste of money. I think it was like a boot camp, and we needed an actual class.
Yeah,
So, but
What's the difference between a boot camp and an actual
Uh,
it was
class?
more like a refresher, like if you already knew this stuff.
yeah, a
Oh,
boot
okay.
camp takes all the material and just shoves it at you and says go. And like that's like supposed to be a reminder, where a class actually teaches you how
They
about
walk
it
you
and the
through
theory
it.
behind it. and-
Okay.
yeah. Um.
Okay.
So yeah.
Huh. Well. Oh, and they're going to have, I think, FreeBSD certification there too. Or,
Yeah, well, they have
their test.
the LPI tests, and I didn't see the FreeBSD was going to test there this year.
I thought they were. I thought I saw it on one of the sites I
When
follow.
Tony and I took the test, there were like a dozen of us there taking the LPI tests,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and one guy taking the FreeBSD test.
Yeah.
And he wore a
Really?
tie.
Oh, that's funny. Did he? Well, did he have a pocket protector?
I do not remember, but he did have a giant beard.
Oh, funny. Um, yes, actually, the BSD certification exam will be available um, at 4 o'clock on Saturday, 1600, for all you folks who follow
On
military.
Saturday, they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They did it on Sunday last year. Not last year, but when I don't know if
Okay.
they did it last year at all. But when Tony
Okay.
and I took the LPI on Sunday, they also had it on Sunday in the same room.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I think Drew Levine was proctoring that.
Okay. Yes, and actually, they have it available Saturday and let's see, 1600 on Saturday and 10 o'clock on Sunday, the 26th.
Okay, so they are offering it on
And the
Sunday.
cost for the exam is $75. So there you have it. If you want to get official, then you can either do the LPI
LPI, yes.
or you could do the BSD. I
All
will
right.
be doing neither.
I will be doing neither also.
I'll be
Right.
driving back.
I'm just there
uh,
to hang out. I'm taking enough classes and tests right now
Oh yeah, you
with
are.
my master's classes.
So I think that's a
So
good segue, Tony. So what did you do the last 2 weeks?
Oh man, it's just more reading and discussion. That's my online class is all about, just reading and online discussions and
Mhm.
questions like there's actually fairly interesting questions. Things like is social media in the business a good thing to, how can it help? How can it hinder?
Mhm.
Um, there was a question for this week was about um, coworkers and whether sharing information opposed to not sharing information and how it motivates people.
Now,
And
by sharing information, are they talking professionally sharing information or social media sharing information?
professional. So yeah, it's two different subjects. And then
It's hard in the tech, and a lot of people at work don't share their stuff.
yeah, just between each
Mhm.
other. Yeah, and that's
You
the
mean
discussion
with
is
each
it's
other,
Yeah,
or
it's with each other. Like I have my scripts, Paul has his scripts, and Chad has his script,
Mhm.
and nobody shares any of that.
and I think there are two factors for that. One is that knowledge is power. So if you share your this is the theory. So if people share their knowledge, they're kind of giving away some of that power that makes you the go-to person. The other is that sometimes people do not like to see or like to have their work critiqued by others because maybe you have a way, not you personally, but someone's a little inefficient in how they set their script up.
Me.
Okay. But anyway, and I think there's probably a reluctance to be criticized because people have egos
Yeah.
and that type of
Well,
thing.
and a lot of it's if people really want to do it. A lot of the hardcore guys don't even put it in their bash RC. They keep it in separate files that they then drag around with them in source,
Mm.
just so
Mm.
you can't get it.
So you can't even find it.
Right.
Wow.
And but then there's guys like me that I'll just put it in my bash RC, and if somebody wants to look at it, they're free to
More
whatever
than
they
welcome
want. Take
to.
what
Yeah.
you want, leave what you don't, and
That's
whatever.
Right. And yeah, the tip jar's there.
But there's this one guy that puts it all in his bash RC, but then he's got a thing in his bash RC that sends him an email every time somebody sources his bash RC that lets you know who sourced his bash RC.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Who and when.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Oh,
pretty
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, so it
Yeah.
sounds like there's some interesting class
So, what was
questions.
the conclusion about sharing information?
That's this week. We're still
Oh.
discussing it. Yeah, it's a
He'll share,
discussion is
he'll share
is
that
week
information
long.
with us next
Okay.
episode.
That's right. Yeah, when we're in Ohio Links Fest, I'll talk about it.
All right.
In fact, because I'm going to be missing a class, I have a second class is Saturday. I'm going to be Matt. You're going to be driving, and I'm going to be on my laptop all the way down there working on classwork, and then all the way back. So
Well, all
that'll
right.
be fun.
Don't go over any bumps. All right, so well, that sounds like a lot of work, Tony. I
Yeah.
applaud it, though. I applaud the pursuit of knowledge.
Thanks.
So, Matt,
Yes.
what did you do?
Oh my God.
It's
We-
always fun when when your update starts with "Oh my God."
Well,
Yeah.
we kind of dissed System D a little bit last show.
Oh yes. Well,
No, we did, and it
we
is what
expressed
it
some
is.
concerns.
It is what it is.
Hmm.
But we got feedback that we'll talk about later from a regular listener to the show, and he's also been a contributor. He's just a real friend of the show.
Hmm.
So I when he says something, I tend to take it more to heart. And he had some criticism for us for criticizing System D. So I said, well, you know what? You're kind of right. I do run it on my laptop, but I don't use it in a work setting. And none of the servers I work on use System D at all. And my laptop, I set them up, and that's it. I just use them. They're a tool. I'm not working on them the way I'm working on a server. So I set a web server up this last 2 weeks
Hmm.
and got vhost right. Set it up with CentOS 7, so it's running System D. Got vhost running. Got 3 websites loaded up on it,
Hmm.
and one of which is bashjunkie.org. It's got nothing there, but you can go check it out.
Yes. Yes. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And I stand by what I said. System D is horrible. It's just horrible. I mean, your logs are in there. It's just horrible.
Well, I guess I think what would be, what would be helpful is if there were now I'm not when I say comparison, I think there are numerous comparisons out there. System D
And
does
one of my
this,
news items
SysVN does this,
is
but I think as far as accomplishing a set of tasks
well, it's
using both of them,
it's
I think it will be interesting to see
it's
which is more efficient.
it's so all encompassing. It's
Mhm.
much more than an init system.
Mhm.
Much more than an init system. And when we get to one of my news articles, we'll talk about some of that too.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right.
But it was not.
Not
I
a
spent an
pretend.
entire. This has nothing to do with System D though, but I spent an entire day and a half because I don't know my SQL stuff at all.
Mhm.
And I said, well, PHP my admin's going to be way easier than trying to learn the MySQL
Oh yeah,
that I need.
Yep.
So I wanted to set PHP my admin up and have it accessible across the web.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured out a hack way to do that. Have you ever done anything with vhost files?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've
So you know
experimented with them, but nothing.
that if you just
Yeah.
go to the IP address, it serves you whatever alphabetically is the first vhost file,
Okay.
right? So
Right.
No, actually, I didn't realize that. I thought you could set one that
No.
says just the IP address.
No.
Oh. Okay.
So I forced a vhost file for PHP admin to be alphabetically first. And then I set SSL up and got it because you don't want your password going over the wire plain text.
Yeah.
So I set SSL up and got SSL working and all that. And then
But not V3.
no. And PHP admin
Uh-huh.
was a piece of crap. It didn't work at all. I tried to set these databases up 4 times. Then I just gave up, uninstalled it, reinstalled MariaDB so I was starting clean, and read 3 different web pages, got the commands I needed, and set them all up by hand with the MySQL.
I've never had a problem with my PHP admin
PHP my
It
admin?
didn't work.
or PHP my
I
admin.
could.
I have
the-
never
the
had a
web-
problem. I
the
really like
the
it.
web page when I created the users in the database with PHP
Mhm.
my admin, WordPress couldn't connect, no matter what I did. So I said, screw it, and took it all away. I did this for a day and a half. Okay, and I'm not a dumb guy.
No.
All right. And
Mhm.
I just couldn't get it to work. So then I blew it all away, reinstalled MariaDB, and did it from the command line. First time that connected right away.
I wonder what
All right.
happened because I have I use PHP my admin for all of my MySQL admin tasks. I haven't really used MariaDB, but they're kind of a drop in. I mean, it's a drop in.
Although I
Same.
did do something with I put a suex command in my vhost file, and that's supposed to say have Apache run as a different user.
Think that might have
Mm,
done something.
That shouldn't make a difference.
And no, wait a minute, no. But it didn't work.
Okay.
And I just thought of, I think, why it didn't work.
Oh.
Do
Why
I
is
need
that?
to also put the password for that user in the suex part of the vhost file? Just now, this dawned on me.
How would it get it otherwise? I mean,
I know that.
I don't know.
all right.
I didn't even
Well,
think of that till
but
just
if
a
you-
second.
If
But
you're rooting you into a user, you don't have to have their password.
exactly, that's what I thought because I thought it would be running as root, or when
Or
it
as
when
a-
it first
a
starts
system.
up. When it first starts up, Apache runs as root and then downgrades its permissions. So
Mhm.
I thought that's what would happen, but
Mhm.
I don't know if it did or not. It was odd.
Hmm.
So what I did was change the owner of all the files because I set up for the 3 websites. I set up
Did
3
you use
users.
Chown?
I did.
Okay.
So then for the 3 websites, I set up 3 users, and then I just had that user own all the WordPress stuff because I also told Apache to sue to that user,
Mhm.
but it didn't work. So then I choned everything to Apache, and it worked perfectly.
Hmm.
But no, the website worked and loaded. But when I tried to then upload an image via WordPress, it couldn't write to the directory. Was the problem.
Hmm.
But the web server worked. So
Interesting. Wow.
I even 775 the directory, and it still wouldn't work.
There's a lot of. Did you do the main directory, or did you do recursive or 775?
Oh, I just
the
did-
specific image
I
upload.
775 the uploads directory.
Hmm.
So
Okay. All right.
Well, so
By the way, every time you bump the table, it's giving reverbs back through. Okay.
but if you do it rhythmically, we'll be all right.
That's
just,
right.
We'll just snap our fingers.
Oh.
Well, thanks, Matt.
Thank
It
you.
was-
And what did you do,
Well,
Mary?
what I did, a couple things. I did a lot actually, but the only two things that worth mentioning here. Um, one of them is that I changed my phone provider. You know, I dropped Sprint and
Ooh, his.
I got Metro PCS, and so I got a new Kyocera phone. I have this Galaxy S3, and I'm thinking, what can I do with it? Well, I can root it. I can root it now with impunity and not even worry about it.
Hmm.
So but of course, they're usually pretty busy. So I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna take a shortcut. I'm gonna do it on my Windows computer.
Oh.
Listen, you guys, exactly. So here's what happened. So I download, and I always get nervous when I download something, one of those routing systems. I get nervous because I think, who knows what's in there? Some payload in there that's gonna just trash my system.
Well, if you could read the code, Mary, you
Ex-
would know what's in
There
there.
you go. And I said that so you could say that. So anyway, so I download it, and as I'm going through the install, it wants to reach out to the internet, and I kind of hate that. I don't like that because I think the whole thing should be there, and I should be able to opt out of certain things. So it wanted to install a bunch of other things, and I opted out of all of them, and then it wanted to reach out, and then I said no. So I thought, oh, but I want to root this phone, so I did it again. I tried to opt out of my of these various little programs, quote unquote programs, helpful programs, and I missed one. So OMG. So what happens is that it prevented me from using my browser. Um, it and I knew what it was because I opened up the process manager and I saw it. I tried to stop it. I couldn't stop it. I tried to then delete the whole directory in the program files because I thought, I'm getting rid of this thing. It wouldn't let me delete it. So and
Well, it's because there was a file running at the time. It was a
Yeah,
process
Elsoft,
running. That's why it
Elsoft
wouldn't
probably
stop.
kept
Even-
you from deleting it.
even trying to stop it, I couldn't stop it.
Jeez.
So yeah, exactly. So what I ended up doing, because I already have it's
Did you
already
try Kill Dash 9?
if I had it available, I would have. So what I ended up doing is it's a dual boot machine, and I had an earlier version of Kubuntu on there. So I booted into Kubuntu, and oh, let me tell you this too. I thought, oh, maybe it set up a proxy, so my browser has to go through something. I went in there and nothing was there, but I could not connect to the internet via browser. But I could ping, I could ping Yahoo and whatever. So
Mm.
very, very bizarre. At that point in time, I thought, man, just regular users out there, when they do something, when they, you know, screw up their computer, I just suddenly felt bad for them because, I mean, here I am. I kind of know my way around, and yes, I shouldn't have done that. But I just think of regular users when they're just trying to do something and they see something that might be interesting, and how they can just get so screwed up their computer. So I just felt a lot of sadness for them
Yep.
and for myself. So so what I ended up doing is I booted into Kubuntu and went to that directory and boom, deleted it. I then went into the registry and deleted all entries for that thing,
Mm.
and then rebooted, and I was fine. So I had to do it that way.
Wow.
But yeah, so I learned a little lesson from there. I think I'm going to try to boot it with Linux, but the problem is that it has KitKat on it, and the instructions that I've seen for rooting a Samsung Galaxy S3 all refer to Jelly Bean. So I'm going to try that and just see if it doesn't really matter. And one of these times I'll report that.
All right.
The only other thing I want to mention is that, have you guys ever heard of Free File Sync?
No.
I found this about a week and a half ago. It is an open source cross-platform tool for not only doing file compares or directory compares, but also you can keep things in sync. It opens up. It's got a nice graphical interface. You can drag your directories. Your source directory and your destination, the ones you want to compare, and then you set it to run. And then once it finds the differences, it gives you all these options. What do you want to do? Very slick. I'm going to have a link to that in the show notes. It's called Free File Sync, and I mean it just, and I think you can set it to run as a service too. It's just a lot of really neat things with it. I had never heard of it, so
Nice.
yeah.
All right.
So I played around with that, and I'm a better person for it.
All right.
Well, you think you are anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. So anyway, so that's what I did.
Cool. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
All right. So I guess we're going on to.
Matt, what's happening with the Colonel?
The Colonel news, and we have quite a few of them. Mainline is 3.17 released on 10.5. That was actually released the same day we recorded last, so I may have had that mentioned. I may not have. Then we have 3.17.1 is the newest stable version, released on 10.15. Then we have 3.16.6 released on 10.15. And then we have long-term kernel 3.14.22 released on 10.15. Long-term kernel 3.12.30 released on 10.8. Long-term kernel 3.10.58 released on 10.15. And that's it for the kernels.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome, Mary.
All right.
Tony,
You know what?
what's going
I
on
just
with the
noticed
Linux
something.
distributions this
What's that,
week?
Matt?
The mainline and the newest stable kernel are the same big number. They're both 3.17.
The same big number.
So, well, because the stable's
Uh-huh.
3.17.1, so they must not have a, because of LinuxCon, they must not have had a development kernel
Hmm. All right.
since 10.5.
Are we ready to go on, Matt?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Tony, what's going on with the Linux distributions this week?
All right. And so we have to go back to the 6th because last time we recorded was on the 5th, right?
Yes.
So I have, first up, we have Untangled, the NG Firewall 11.0. And they are a Linux distribution based on Debian and specialized for firewalls and gateways.
Mm-hmm. And one thing about Entangle is that their virus blocker is now based on a new commercial technology from Bitdefender for better performance and efficiency. And I checked into Bitdefender to find out what they are, or Bid Defender, as I misspelled it here. They're actually a Romanian-based company, and they've got, as they characterize it, they have hundreds of millions of users worldwide. And they also technology from Bitdefender is also used for Untangled spam blocker. And every time these guys have a release, they host a free community webinar to talk about the release and answer questions about it. And for this one, that was on October 9th. So if anybody's interested in following this or interested in Untangle, they've got a commercial version and they have a community version. So, and then you can find out about it at that webinar.
Cool. You said October 9th? So that was
Yeah, it was October 9th for this one because that came out on, when did that come out?
on the 6th.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing too is that they now have a little checker if you exceed your licenses, so that any devices beyond your seat limit will have their traffic processed as normal. However, the host name and username in the host table will both be unlicensed for devices beyond the limit. So they just a little reminder to people that don't exceed your license number. So that's what
All
they
right.
said. All right.
All right. Next up, we have Kane 6.0, which is a Ubuntu based live DVD for forensic analysis and penetration testing.
Yes. And Kane is going to be my distro review.
All right.
So we'll hear more about it later.
Yeah. Next up, we have NetBSD 6.15 and 6.06. Right? Is that how you read it? Because there's a comma in the middle there.
Mhm.
Is that two different versions?
Yeah, they're two different branches. And what was included in this release they've got a fix for obviously different issues in the mount syscall, which could be used by a local user to panic the system. So they've kind of taken that issue away, or at least in the
panic the system, so you
Yeah.
can like cause it to stop right that instant.
Kernel panic.
Yeah, kernel panic.
Wow.
You know how your little
Isn't that the same thing as like pulling the power? No, because
Well,
you can
normally to
damage hard
recover
drives.
from a kernel panic, you have to pull the power. I do it at least once a night.
I haven't had a kernel panic in a long time.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So on the 9th, we have Rosa for R4 Desktop Fresh, which is the Linux desktop with KDE.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really cool icon set. But you really like those, don't you,
Yeah,
Mary?
I don't use it now, but I've saved them because I do like them. They're one of my two favorites. And now this instance of Rosa, this release of Rosa includes root partition encryption if you want that, and they also have EFI installation support. And they said that it comes with KDE 4.13.3 out of the box, but you can install KDE 4.14.1 from the KDE backports. So that's available. Um, and also, they by default include Firefox 32.0, but you can install the classic interface Firefox because you notice that Firefox has a different kind of interface now. If you prefer the classic,
No,
the Rosa, yeah, it's it
I use it every
Firefox
day
reminds
too.
me more of Chrome now than
I've got it open right here.
yeah. So I think right, but it's a little different than it used to be. So you can get the legacy one if you like the classic Firefox look.
And what's different about it?
Uh,
They're shifting the menus around and the
Yeah.
toolbars and stuff. And
mhm. You see those three lines over there in the upper right corner, Matt?
Yes.
Okay, click on that. Have you ever clicked on that?
No.
There's your stuff. See, and it's kind of like Chrome. I think Chrome has that.
yeah, the three
So,
lines
mhm.
or the gear. It used to be a gear.
Yeah, it used to be gears, so that kind of three lines indicates it's a drop down. So anyway, but if you don't like that and you want to go back to the bar across the top with your menu items, they provide an opportunity for you to do that.
In Chrome, I have both though.
I'm
Good.
sure that, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, and the last thing about Rosa is that in this release they have replaced MySQL with MariaDB. So
Yeah, everybody's going that way.
Mhm. yeah.
It's the default now in CentOS.
Mhm.
So. Still, it's use all the MySQL commands
Oh,
still,
yeah.
and you actually like when you connect to it, you type MySQL to connect to it at the command line.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
then
can
the prompt says MySQL.
Well, can you imagine how much work just to go into it itself and replace all that? I mean, that would be.
It could just be said, say, replace MI or MY with MI or MA, Maria, MA instead of MY.
Can you say that again, Tony? Just kidding.
Okay.
All right. Continuing on.
Yes.
On the 11th, we have VyOS, which is spelled VYOS,
Mhm.
1.1.0. And they are also a firewall and distribution. But it says for firewalls discontinued in 2013.
Yeah, because they're a community fork of Viata,
Mhm.
the Viata distribution with all those commercial firewalls and things like that. Viata makes.
Huh. I've never heard of it.
You never heard of Viata firewalls?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I have.
I have too. I think we
Oh.
have a
Cool.
couple of them at work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is a community version?
Yes.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Okay. And this particular release, they have got the Control Alt Delete key set.
Hmm.
You can configure it, so it's configurable. I guess that's what they said. It wasn't before,
Okay.
apparently.
Configurable to do what? Reboot the system twice?
Or it's
You know,
probably, you can set it to prompt before it reboots.
yeah, Yeah.
But
yeah. There you go, Matt.
Don't get me started. Why you
All
gotta
right.
do that, Mary?
All right. All right. One known issue in this release is there's the bug in clustering that makes it fail to start after boot. That was not fixed.
You know, my known issue is in this release that freaking Control Alt Delete is configurable.
All right, man.
All right, moving on.
All right, moving on. We have 4M Linux 10.0, which is latest stable. It's a minimalist desktop
Mhm.
with JWM as the window manager.
You know what
Yep.
JWM stands for?
The Joe.
Joe's Window Manager.
Yeah.
And it is minimalist.
Is it Joe's?
Yeah.
Joe.
Or it might be
like
Joe.
The Joe window manager.
But
I think we talked about that a few weeks ago, didn't we?
it might be Joe. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's Joe. Although I don't think it would be James or Jim. Maybe Jim.
I'm pretty sure it's Joe.
Maybe it's Jane.
It's
Hmm.
Joe.
I'm just grabbing random J
All right.
names.
I know.
All right, we're
It could be
bouncing here.
The Jesus window manager.
The Jesus, yeah. The Jesus window manager.
All right.
That's where I was going, but I went with the
It's-
non-religious pronunciation.
It's heavenly.
There you go.
All right. Well, we got to get back to
All right.
matters at
Back
hand
on
here 'cause
track.
We got a long list, but just to comment on that, if you want to create a live CD using or for Forum Linux, you can do that with the infra recorder or a UNet boot-in if you want to put that on a USB, which I think people use.
Yeah, it's
I've
pretty
used that
common.
myself. Or you can also use the 4M Linux disk itself. So, and they've got a very helpful video there. If you want to learn how to do it with the infra recorder, they've got a tutorial video there to help you with that.
Is it recorder? I always said infra recorder.
Well, if it's well, the way I had noted it here, it's recoder. And
I
do
might
it
be
numerous
I might
times.
just be
Wrong.
adding the I mentally adding the R. I mean,
Info recorder.
It is-
Oh, you know what it is? Okay, let me let me just say this. I believe that the site had. I don't know, but anyway, let's just say this. Info recorder is a very helpful tool.
Okay.
Oh my gosh,
All
that's
right.
funny. All right, we're moving on.
yeah.
Am I the only guy left in the universe, by the way, that burns ISOs to CDs?
I
Well,
do every once in a while, but not as a normal basis.
I do,
That's the way I do it.
but I'm, you're
Yeah.
the only person.
And it's easier for me to carry a flash drive in my pocket with 10 different tools, and they all are separate.
Well, no,
ISOs
I
that'll
do that
boot.
too. I mean, I've got in my pocket right now. I've got 3 different USBs with different tools on them that all boot into a live environment. But I
Mhm.
mean to like do installations.
You just throw that ISO on that same USB.
No,
Mm-mm.
And update-
burn it to a
It's
CD.
easier to do it on a CD, and
I'm
then
with
just
you,
set
Mary.
your boot. Just set
Yep.
your boot
Yeah,
priority to boot CD
F11 and choose CD.
F12.
It depends on your PC. It's
F11.
F9 for HPs. It's
F12 for Dell.
F11.
It's
for Dell.
maybe Dell servers.
Oh, yeah,
for
Dell
Dell
servers, I'm
laptops.
sorry.
Dell
it's-
laptops. Okay.
It's F12.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Let's continue on.
What do we have next?
Backbox Linux 4.0, and that is a distro for penetration testing. And now it's based on the Ubuntu 14.04 LTS.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and they were somewhat apologetic about the delay in the release. But part of the problem was just porting their distro to use the new Ubuntu 14.04 base. So they said it required a lot of work.
And they have EFI mode working now.
Okay. Yeah, good for them. And they said the development team promises more tools will be available soon and automatically installed in the form of system updates. So anybody who's using Black Box Linux can look forward to that.
All right.
Is that a fork of what is now Kali and used to be? Oh, what the heck did Kali used to be?
Backtrack.
yeah.
Backtrack. That's it. Is Black Box a derivative or a fork of that same code base?
I don't. Maybe insofar as doesn't Kali use Ubuntu?
I thought it used Debian.
Or maybe it does. I don't know. It's a good
Okay.
question.
Hmm.
All right.
All right. Next up we have is I know I'm going to butcher this.
Mini.
Gal upon Minino 2014.
What?
GALPON.
No. That's all not the name of it.
Picar OS. Oh, it's Mini. No.
Yeah.
But it says distribution release : space GALPON space MININO space 2014.
Well, it's Picar OS edition. I believe that
And the logo just
Galatian,
says
see,
Minio.
GALPON. That is part of Galicia in Spain. It's entity there.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
the Gallup part. That's for like the
Mm-hmm.
location. I thought.
Yeah, so it's Picard OS.
I thought it was Minino
You know, this
because that's
It
what the
is.
logo says.
it is
Well,
mini no.
Okay.
I looked at this distro. I was going to initially do a review on this because it cracked me up. They had here it was a distribution designed for 3 to 12-year-olds. I thought,
that's
hey,
us, man.
I can handle that. But it's for older computers. And then when I went in there and took a look at it, it looked like it was mostly in Spanish. So I just thought, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna go through that. I mean, I can speak Spanish and find my way through it, but I thought it would be more interesting to do Kane because it's a forensics distro.
You know what,
So,
Mary?
who cares?
You know,
No.
no. You
What?
know what would be good? If you did like a Russian distro that did not have an English translated version.
No, actually,
but
talking about distros for kids, I've got to set up a laptop for my kids soon, or a desktop or something.
Yeah,
So,
your daughter's getting older there.
Yeah,
Time.
so I'm going to be looking into that soon.
Mhm.
And when I do it, I'll do a review. So we'll see how it goes.
oh, that'll be great. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then have her start to use it and just kind of observe and report
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, well.
Oh, that'd be a great review. I mean, that's real
Yeah.
world.
So if there is a English version for this, then I'd probably try that 1st. But mini
Yeah,
no.
there's so many kid distros out there.
Edubuntu.
Edubuntu's
No,
more for like
Edubuntu's not. It's more for
school
schools
age.
with Pixie Boot, and
Oh, okay.
it's different.
Doodoo, Dodo.
Dodo. Yeah.
Yep. Dodo Linux.
Yeah.
Dodo.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna be looking into that.
Excellent.
I think OLP has one too.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
1 laptop per child. OLPC.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that'll be kind of fun to hear back on that.
Yeah.
Um.
It'll probably take a couple months before I get around to finishing it, but
mhm.
yeah. All
Well,
right.
I think this one's for older computers too. If I didn't mention that already.
That'd be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next up we have is Lunar Linux 1.7.0, and they are source-based distribution with a complete application management system.
Yes, and the release note said, "Out with sysv in it, gasp in parentheses, in with system D, WTH question mark." That is what they said on their release notes.
Yeah,
So
it's getting forced down everybody's throat.
But
For
anyway,
worse
so
or worser.
and I'm only reporting what the site said. I'm not making any opinions on that. But
I did.
and we can always count on that. One thing too, Lunar Linux has been around for years, for I think 12 years. They first appeared on DistroWatch back in September of 2002, and they last appeared in DistroWatch on August 23rd, 2010.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Wow.
They're one of those distros that goes away and then comes back and then goes away and comes back.
Mhm.
So
That's cool.
Yeah, so
And it says code name for this one is Sinus Success. So what that says? Sinus Successus.
yeah, Sinus Successus.
All right.
Oh, okay. I'd tell you a story about sinuses, but it'd be a TMI moment.
it's got to be
Right.
some Latin thing
Yeah.
or
probably.
pseudo Latin.
Sinus, isn't that like nose?
I don't know.
No, that's rhinoplasty.
Oh,
All right,
all
I
right.
don't
Let's keep on going.
Thanks, Tony.
Smooth Wall Express.
Nice throwing the monkey wrench in there.
Yeah.
Smooth Wall Express 3.1. And this is, what is this, the 3rd firewall this week?
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Smooth Wall, that's the first firewall distro I tried. It worked really good on really old computers.
Okay.
I mean, I had it running on like a Pentium 133.
yeah. You know
but
the I can't remember what it is now. What IP Cop? What did they come from?
IP Fire?
IP Cop.
Oh, that's right. IP Fire came from IP
Yes.
Cop.
Yep.
IP Cop was the first one I used ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Hmm.
They're not coming up in a few minutes, are they?
No.
IP Fire is.
The IP
Oh,
Fire
no.
is.
Oh, all right. So,
Okay.
but next up is Scientific Linux 7.0, and they are based on Red Hat 7.
Yes, they are. I don't have a lot to say about them.
All right. Well, continuing on.
Well, it it's based on it, but it differs from the Red Hat and CentOS in that the project enhances the system with extra software
Yeah, that
now
too.
that I've tripped on my tongue, applications and utilities geared towards science.
All right.
They're-
All right. And next up is RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6.6. It's the sixth update for the 6 series.
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh, I went out to their site just to take a look at what else was included in this release. And the 6.6 release also provides some enhancements for running Red Hat Enterprise Linux as a virtual guest. And,
On what? A guest on what did it say?
no, they didn't go into detail, but they said it upholds Red Hat's commitment to refining the overall virtualization experience. Um, so they include support for a host to feed randomness to a virtual machine, which I think is for to increase that security for cryptographic applications.
hmm.
They've got other improvements, but I think they went out of their way to mention that
All right.
those virtualization updates improvements.
Cool. All right. Next up we have is IP Fire 2.15 Core 84. And they said the big update for this is the Bash update for Shell Shock.
Hmm.
And I did my update the other day, and then it flawlessly rebooted and came back up, and we're surfing the web on it right now.
Yeah, and actually, this firewall, IP Fire, they got a couple of new features that they didn't have before. And if I remember, I'll post a link to the blog, the IP Fire blog that talked about it. One of them is how they limit current connections, or that they're limiting concurrent current connections. I left a little syllable out of there.
Yeah,
Makes a big difference, doesn't
a
it?
little bit.
But anyway, yeah. So they're limiting concurrent connections. So you'll be able to define how many concurrent connections are allowed per IP address. They
Hmm.
said that'll be very useful. As far as applying this to a port forwarding rule to your mail server, big email providers like Gmail or email servers that use postfix will never open up more than a couple of simultaneous connections to deliver emails to you. So, and spammers apparently open up lots of connections at the same time and try to flood the email server with unwanted emails. So, if they can't deliver it, it's going to slow your server down. So, what they're trying to do is protect the server by limiting concurrent connections. So
Right.
that's one
You
thing.
know, there's also we ran into this problem at work over the weekend. Well, Friday, and because one of our clients was on a major television show, and so their traffic just went
Hmm.
during the broadcast.
All
Oh,
right.
wow.
And if
Was
you
it a Chinese nail place? No.
if you if you set the limit like in software, but don't
Mhm.
increase the kernel limit, you're not doing any good.
Oh. Oh, interesting, Matt.
Because there's a kernel limit on the number of TCP connections to the actual machine
Oh yeah.
overall.
Hmm.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's one of the improvements, and they said that'll definitely help your server because all that'll be handled, by the firewall before it gets there. And then there's another one too, a rate. It's rate limit of new connections. So what they're doing is limiting the number of concurrent connections per IP address to just one way. This other new feature is to rate limit new connections. So there's only a certain number of new connections that are forwarded from the internet to your web server, for example. So if someone is sending thousands of requests to your web server just to render it unresponsive, you are now able to block them away with this feature. Your
Nice.
server will only get as many requests as it can cope with on top. This feature even works for distributed DDoS, DOS
Wow,
attacks.
that is really cool because we have
Yeah.
a machine at work that does this, but now it does it for all of our data centers.
Yeah.
but,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
but it cost $500,000.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so anyway, so I guess I'm even more incented now to make sure a link to that blog post is in the show notes.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, so I know, and I was even though I've never really used a firewall like IP Fire, a separate one, um, I thought it was pretty neat. So I read the
Very
entire
cool.
blog post.
Hmm.
All right, what's next?
All right, next up is Sulks 1.0.
Yeah, we should have like a little firework thing because this is their first time.
Yeah, I've never
First
heard of it.
time, yeah. Well, let me tell you, yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. He's our fireworks guy.
All right.
But Selks derives its name from a number of the tools that it uses: Suricata IDPS, Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana, and Sirius. So you take the first letters of all those tools or those companies, put them together, you have Selks.
Hmm. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
what is this about? Pre-configured network security
hmm
management tools.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Elastic?
Nobody's using it.
Well, they're kind of brand new, but they've got a. It's kind of interesting. They've got a general purpose and they have general purpose and task based dashboards. For example, they've got like a privacy dashboard, so it shows privacy related information such as which pages are leading to well known personal data providers like, excuse me, Facebook, Twitter, or Google. They've got something called Kibana. Now I went out to YouTube and saw a little um, video on Kibana, and it provides various dashboards of system, network information and that type of thing. It and they plan to augment the Kibana dashboards in the future, so it'll be done seamlessly. You'll be able to just when you're upgrading your Debian system, you'll be able to do that automatically when that upgrade occurs. So, brand new product. I don't know much more about it than that.
All right.
All right.
Next up we have is Tails 1.2, and they are, they're the distro for privacy and anonymity.
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 Sure, that's what I said.
Anonymity.
Yeah, anonymity.
Hey,
That was close enough.
yes,
Yeah.
good enough, Tony.
And Tails actually means the Amnesic Incognito Live System 1.2, and they have numerous fixes for security. And it says all users must upgrade as soon as possible.
Yeah, they one thing they did in this release too is they enabled the VirtualBox guest editions by default because sometimes you have to install those separately.
And they also fixed Poodle, which I bet you is why we had so many distribution releases.
Poodle?
Yeah, that's probably it.
What is Poodle?
You didn't hear about
Tony.
Poodle?
Poodle?
I'm
Oh
out,
my
I'm like out of the
I
God.
loop.
cracked up when
Out
I.
of the loop. Oh no.
You know, it's a meaningful acronym though. It's
It
not like
is.
shell shocked.
Yeah, or Heartbleed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Poodle is okay.
Should
I
we
can't-
cover
I
this
can't
in
remember what it-
news? Or do you guys have a news article?
I
about
don't
it?
have a news article on it because it's old news. It's like a week old.
Yeah, it's padding Oracle on downgraded legacy encryption. It had to do
Oh,
with
I
SSL.
did hear.
SSL.
I did hear about
they
it.
called it Poodle, and I didn't know. I thought, well, you have shell shock, Heartbleed, Poodle,
Yeah.
and then I looked it up and I realized what it was. So,
Yeah, because I subscribe to a couple of different tumblers, and like one of them is InfoSec reactions, and it said, one of them was when I realized Poodle was not just an acronym, like shell shocked, and it was a picture of a guy going, oh.
oh,
All right.
all right.
Oh.
We're heading down the
Yeah,
home
we need to
stretch.
get going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You gotta keep moving.
That was the last one, by the way. Tails.
That was. And
It-
you
it
know,
was.
yeah,
Wow.
because all the rest are development releases.
Okay.
Although
we'll
what
be hearing about those
I
soon.
do want to say one more thing is it didn't show up in the development release here,
Mhm.
but you know what's going to happen before our next show
Mm-mm.
is Ubuntu 10 or 14.10 will be
Yes.
released.
And Kubuntu.
And yep, Ubuntu, it's on the 23rd.
Yes.
So that's this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw your did you see my comment, Matt? You very reluctantly gave
I did.
some props to Ubuntu. I think it was the Netflix thing.
Yes.
And then I said
Because it was because of Ubuntu's negotiations with Netflix.
and then I said in response, I said, a pig just flew past my window.
Yes, and if anybody didn't hear, you can now on Linux use Netflix natively with Chrome,
Yeah.
thanks to Ubuntu. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's.
I was watching them last night, as a matter of fact.
Yep. That was really great.
Yeah. All right. So
The distro of the week, according to Distro Watch, calculated by website hits per day.
the top 5 of the week starts off with OpenSUSE with 1551.
And trending down.
Number 4 is Debian with 1645.
And trending up.
Number 3 is Lunar with 1816.
And trending up.
Number 2 is Ubuntu with 1996.
And trending up.
And the number 1 spot is Mint
Gotta love that minty goodness.
with 2326.
And trending up.
All right.
Excellent work.
Thank you. And next up we have
What distro are you reviewing this week, Mary?
Well, this week I am reviewing, and actually I wanted to put together a little intro that worked Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel into it, but I didn't have time. But I will be able to review this distro.
That
Cain.
was funny.
Yeah.
I actually spontaneously laughed.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyway, but this week, my review is of a forensics distro called Cain, and Cain stands for Computer-Aided Investigative Environment. Now, the maintainer, and these are the vitals, as folks who follow my reviews, if anyone does, I usually share some vitals, and the maintainer is Nani Bassetti. The distro's latest birthday was on October 7, 2014. It's a derivative of Ubuntu, as we heard just a few moments ago. The kernel, and this is based on uname space -a, is kernel 3.13.0-36. And the review desktop is Mate, which of course is kind of a fork of GNOME 2.
yeah.
Now, Cain obviously boots to the Mate desktop environment. And this is, I'm just talking about the live environment first, because you not only are you able to install it off the CD that I downloaded and
That's
burnt,
right,
Matt?
Mary.
Right?
I'm right
Yeah.
there with you.
Hey, Matt, and it has an Office productivity suite.
Very good.
So
Desktop distribution.
yeah, exactly, and a nice one too, I might add. But well, I'm not a big fan of Mate, but that's just me. But anyway, so when you do boot up, you've got quite a few icons. Actually, there are 10 of them. You've got one. You've got one for Cain Info. You've got one for Mix Scripts, which, excuse me, if you open it up, it takes you to a directory that's got a bunch of scripts in it. I didn't really go in and open up each of those scripts, but some of those scripts are various forensic tools, which then will open up a front end.
What are they written in?
I think some of them are written in Bash. Some of them are, I want to say Python too. Python also.
There's a fairly new book out too that I've been meaning to pick up. It's Pen Testing with Bash.
Really?
Yes.
That'd be interesting. Speaking of books, did you know I started reading my Python programming book? I've got a rock and hello world script, let
Yeah.
me tell you.
How far are you through that FreeBSD book, Mary?
You know, I jump into it because it's very heavy. I jump in like I read about the zettabyte file system. There's various parts I go into to read. I don't. Can you tell I'm?
You're hedging here, yeah.
Yes, I am
can
hedging.
tell.
All right, but it is a good book. It's very dense, though. I will say that. But it's interesting. The parts I've read,
All right.
table of contents, the glossary. All right.
It captures out of some pictures.
Oh, yeah, I go for those graphics, the pictures, the tables. Anyway, all right, back to my review here. Where was I? Oh, yeah, so we've got, so there's a number of, there are actually 10 various icons on the desktop, including an installer icon. Now, here's the interesting thing about Cain Linux. It's installed using SystemBack. Now, you're probably thinking, what's SystemBack? Well,
I was.
I can tell by the expression on your face, Matt. We talked about SystemBack a few weeks ago because that sets up that backup and restore.
Yeah, familiar, yeah.
Exactly.
So they built the system and then made it as like a restore
Yes,
that you can
that is
reinstall.
exactly what they did.
That's
So you
interesting.
install via restore. That is pretty funny.
Yeah, it is. And it works perfect. It really does.
It's probably way faster than a standard install too.
Well, and I'm
But
kinda,
what does it do about disk space? Because a restore normally will take what the disk space it's assigned, you know? It won't
Right.
increase the disk space to the disk.
No, but what it does, there is a series of questions that it asks you, and actually, I'm kind of jumping around in my. I'm just going to start talking about the live environment. We'll get to that in a minute,
Okay.
though.
All right.
But anyway, so there's a single panel at the bottom. There's a live environment. It contains several informative system tray icons. For example, after connecting to wireless, and let me tell you this, and I think it's probably because it's Ubuntu, it connected to my Broadcom chip. I didn't have to download any drivers or do anything. It came just working out of the box. So that was wonderful.
That is nice.
And of course, that just upticked it quite a bit in my review. Um, but anyway, so after connecting to the wireless, my upload download speed was always viewable. So I could see what I was getting, both uplink and downlink or upload, download, whatever. A right click on the Bluetooth icon allowed me to toggle it on and off, as well as perform other related Bluetooth tasks, scan for devices, that type of thing. Now there's a drive mounter icon. This really worked very nicely because it, by default, Kane is set up to mount disks and drives and all that in read-only mode, which makes perfect sense because
Right.
it's a forensics distro. But what it does is if you right-click the icon, you can toggle it to mount it writable, which you may need to do sometime if you're maybe.
Well, when you're doing actual forensic work, you're never actually working on the disk that you're forensicing.
We're going to get to that in a moment.
You're
Yes.
working on an image of that disk.
Yes, and actually,
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the tools because I tested those tools. But
Nice.
but anyway, so yeah, so if you right-click the icon, you can toggle to mount a disk as writable. But let me tell you something: be prepared for several warnings. After all, the whole idea of computer forensics is not to mess with the data and on the disk itself. And a writable hard drive can raise that risk. So, I mean, there's a purpose if you want to mount something writable. If you're taking something, your own personal stuff or something off here, and you want to transfer it, you want to do it as writable. But for any forensics activity, you want that as read only. Now the graphics it used, it was the Intel 915 module, and then the wireless. I was kind of curious. Wanted to see if it loaded the Broadcom. I think it's the B43 module, which typically gets loaded. No, it wasn't. It was something called lib 80211. Now I don't know. I didn't know much about that, but that appeared to be the wireless module or the library that was allowing me to have no problems with
Wow.
wireless. So I was grateful.
Nice.
The default browser is Firefox. Office Suite is LibreOffice. Thunderbird is the mail client, and then the file managers. It's Kaja or Kaha, Kaja,
How's your Google?
Kaha, Kaka. I don't know. Anyway, and something called Files, and I don't know if they're one and the same. I didn't spend a lot of time looking into it because I was more interested in the forensics part of it. Now, installing Kane is mostly a breeze. There are only a few steps to complete after you click the installer icon on the desktop. You need to supply a new user password information as well as roots that you plan to use. And then there's a partition setting. This one, it wasn't too bad. It would have, I think it could have benefited from a little bit more information because there were no words for the most part. It was just um, various pictures that you were, an arrow, kind of a curly Q arrow versus something else. There were a few words like delete, so at least you knew if you were going to delete a partition, you knew ahead of time. But anyway, system back is configured such that if one of its restore points, it's configured so that one of its restore points is live image, and so that's what happens. You click start and the install begins, and as we discussed earlier, system back is just restoring that live image onto the hard drive that you've set up.
No, that's
So,
neat.
yeah. All right, now onto the installed environment. Now during the install, I was not prompted for any keyboard localization, time zones, or anything. It just takes that bit of information, the usernames, and the partition information up front. Oh, and on the partition page, it also asks you about installing Grub. So I just said auto, and auto by default is going to put it on the master boot record. So
Right.
it's a piece of cake.
So it did let you partition it into.
Yes, I could have divided it up into any number. I installed it 3 times just to test different options, and I was able to create 3 partitions. I also installed it in a single large partition. I had no problems.
Like what 3
doing it.
partitions did you user var and home or?
No, I had root and home and swap, I think.
Swap doesn't really count.
Yeah, maybe it was only two. I think it was only two. I don't think I had a swap. But anyway, so yeah, it's just an area, isn't that right?
All right.
That's Tony's cue to move along.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, now the first reboot shows a cleaner desktop than the live environment. There are only three icons: one for computer, one for the user's home, and then trash. I went ahead and took a look at the menu, and of course, the system tray and the panel are all the same, so I won't talk about that again. But the menu contains forensic tools submenus. So there are four things listed in there. There are memory forensics, and in there are inception and volatility. What those turned out to be are some scripts that you run. I didn't get into testing memory forensics. There's also a database entry or menu, and that has the SQLite database browser, and then SQLite Man, which I think is a manager of file, not a file manager, but a kind of a system.
Like a database, like a front end for it.
Yeah, there you go. And then mobile forensics, you had BlackBerry and iDevice scripts, and then the iPhone backup analyzer, and the network forensics, NetDiscover, Wireshark, ZenMap, and then ZenMap is root. Now, I did not work with any of those because directly below those directories were all the main programs that I wanted to check. The first one, and I'm going to probably mispronounce this, and you guys can help me out. It's called, is it Guy Magger or Guy Major or Gimager?
I would say Guy Major.
Guy Major? Guy Major? Now, this is a fast open source graphical tool for creating disk images. It will allow you to use DD to create your image, as well as what's called EO1 and AFF. Now, those last two formats are used commonly in the digital forensics community because they also provide the ability to store metadata about the disk image. Now, I tested the tool using a 2 gigabyte USB stick, which I plugged in, and it had 1 gig of data on it. And Geimager, I think it's Geimager probably, like Imager,
Yes, sure.
Geimager, um, successfully created an image of the contents and then added a .info file with a bunch of metadata about the drive.
Hmm.
So it was very cool. The next tool I found that was of great interest was called fmount, and that's forensics mount. Now that's a bash script that's used to detect and or mount allocated partitions as read-only. Now here's what's really cool. I took my that EO1. Apparently, that's a very standard format. As I said, it's recognized in the digital forensics community. I was able to successfully mount that using fmount. Not only that, I could also go into it and take a look at the contents of that image that I had just mounted, that I had created from Geimager. Now, fmount takes the mount point for this is in media, and there's a subdirectory in media called evidence. And so my Geimager image was mounted as evidence underscore vol10. So that's where it appeared. I clicked on it, opened it up, and there were all the files that existed on my USB drive.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool. I thought, man, I'm going to get into this forensic stuff. This is kind of cool.
Good money too. I knew a guy that
Oh.
used to do this. He had a nifty tool. This is getting a little sidetracked here, but it was a clamp that had teeth in it that you put on the power cord and you clamped it through the power cord, and then it was hooked. It had a box attached to it that was a deep cell battery and a voltage, not transformer. What's it when you take DC and make AC out of it?
Converter?
Yes, thank you. And that way you can unplug it from the wall, but it keeps the system running because you don't want to alter the state that the machine is in ever.
Yeah.
So we keep it running. That way it keeps all the RAM warm and everything like that. So everything is still right the same way it is.
I see. Okay. Oh, neat.
Then you can take it with him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh. All right. The next tool is called Autopsy. And let me tell you something. If you Google autopsy, be sure to put Linux after it.
Actually, I have heard of that. It is
Yeah,
a
I
pretty
have
cool
too.
tool.
Oh, it is. It's a digital and for anyone who's not aware of it, it's a digital forensics tool with a graphical interface to, I guess it's to the Sleuth toolkit and other digital forensic tools. Now, for this tool, I connected an external hard drive, so I've got like tons of movies and music and stuff on this hard drive, and I added it to the case locker and then ran an analysis on it. I was able to, he does such a deep dive into the individual sectors on a drive that I was able to open individual sectors, blocks of sectors, and view the content in ASCII. I viewed it in hex. And then there was something called ASCII strings, which I looked at, but it just looked like a whole long list of stuff, like a string. It was all very interesting and done from the comfort of a browser. That's what I really liked about
Wow.
it, because what happens is when you kick off Autopsy, you do it from the command line, or at least the command little terminal opens up, and then there is the link there, so you can click on that, and that'll spawn the browser, and then from there you can inspect that drive.
Hmm.
So it was really cool. There were a lot of other things that were available in Autopsy, and I encourage people to check it out. Not not necessarily on Kane, but just check it out in general. It's a cool tool. Another interesting tool is called Fred. This is the Forensics Registry Editor. It's cross-platform Microsoft Registry Hive Editor with special features. Now, obviously, I didn't get a chance to use this because I didn't have a Microsoft Registry handy.
Yeah,
Um,
could have used your work laptop.
I could have probably copied that right off there, but when you open it up, it reminds me, for anyone who's used regedit, you've got kind of your two panels. You've got your hives over here on the left, and the directories in, and then on the right you've got your keys and your values and all that. That's how it's set up. But the other thing that Fred has is in the lower right corner, it has a little box here that is a hex viewer area. So if you want to view it in hex, you can also do that. So anything stored in the registry is available to Fred. For example, the last time a user opened a .doc file or docx file, what was the last program a user ran using the start run dialog? I didn't realize that all that kind of stuff is in there, but man, there's a lot of stuff in there, and Fred will find it for you. And then ZenMap, that's basically Nmap designed to make it easier to use for beginners. So you guys are familiar with Nmap.
Yes.
The other tool that I really liked in here, and I think I talked about this.
PhotoRec, I've used it a lot.
Yes, PhotoRec. Now, this is a file data recovery software designed to recover lost files, including video, documents, and archives from hard disks, CD-ROMs, lost pictures. I think it was originally designed to catch lost pictures, but any file that you have
Right,
deleted,
correct.
if it's there, it'll find it. So I went ahead and ran it on that same external hard drive, and let's see here. Before I stopped it, it had found 22 files. Now I don't delete a lot of files off there because usually that I put them on there, but apparently a few years ago I did, and because I don't do a lot with that hard drive, those files were largely intact, or at least it found them. So I went ahead and recovered them, and I wanted to see if I could play these deleted files. Sure enough, I could. It
Wow.
was pretty darn cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had, but what I had to do though is,
I think Mary's found her second career.
Forensics
I,
analysis.
yeah, I like that kind of stuff because it's all like solving a puzzle. I'm really good at troubleshooting, and well, you might not think so, but
No, that's why
I'm
you do the distro reviews.
I like to
Mary.
label myself as a creative problem solver. But anyway, yeah, it was cool. But when I attempted to play back, I had to install several extra libraries to support the format. So, and again, that's not, that was more an issue of the tools that were available for playback, which can't remember what they were. But anyway, so the only thing that I found a little confusing about Kane was the root user. I seem to be able to do things that I didn't think I should be able to just do, and I didn't have to supply any kind of root password. But I didn't log in as root. I didn't have to log in at all.
You might be the root user anyway.
I could not open the root user's directory. The root directory. I could not open it.
What root directory? Like
Well,
like
think of the
slash or
slash
root?
/root. See, that's what was confusing to me. I didn't have time to check that out, but it was a little confusing why I couldn't access that. But I was
What was
able.
your UID?
I didn't check that,
Okay.
but that's a good question. It might be an exercise to do sometime. But anyway, but it seemed like I was able to do a lot of things that a root user could do, but I wasn't. It didn't appear to be root, or at least I couldn't get into that directory. So, and when I logged in, when I booted the system up, I did not have to, as I recall, I didn't. It gave me a login screen, but I didn't have to do much. I could just click past it to get in. But when I installed it, I do remember setting a user password. So anyway, so if you need to conduct a forensic examination, this is the end of this review. Kane has the tools you need. I found it to be overall a very interesting distro to take a look at. I had fun with the tools. A couple of little things I mentioned here. I think the partition manager is not too bad, but could maybe be cleared up a little bit. And then that root
Better
user
than
thing.
Fedora's?
No comment. But anyway, if you want to use you want to check out Cane as a forensics tool, or even these tools, not even just Cane, but just go grab these tools. Very neat. I liked it a lot. So
All
that's my
right.
review of Cane.
All right.
Cool.
Sounds cool.
Did you give it
Okay.
a cup rating?
Yeah, 4. I just made that up.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
4 is the highest we've ever had there, Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 5 is the highest.
I know, but we've never
Possible.
had a 5.
Yeah. Yeah, because I just pull, what is it? Uh, pull it out of my. I know, yeah. This is a family show.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Pull it out of my head. Yeah, that was it.
Come on, kids, gather around. We're gonna listen to Sunday
Morning
morning
Linux review with Uncle Matt. All right, we're gonna move on, aren't we?
Yes.
Because I gotta go to
please.
the Lions game today.
Yeah, and I actually have a birthday party to get ready for.
Oh, okay. Whose birthday?
It's a joint party for both my kids.
Oh,
One's in
okay.
September, the other's November, so we're doing it in October.
You know you're probably gonna mentally harm your kids. They're not gonna know where their birthday
I'm
is.
telling you, my kids' birthdays are both in November, and one on the 18th, 21st, and we used to have it on like the 20th or the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a little more reasonable than one in September and one in October.
Well, we had our family celebrations for both of them. We're still going to do that, but we're actually
Yeah.
having like a party with all their friends coming, and
Oh, okay. So we
and
gotta
we're
get-
doing a Halloween
A Halloween theme.
theme. That's right, and
I'm
all
wearing
the
my
little
Theater
kids,
Bazaar. I'm wearing my Theater Bazaar shirt.
all the little kids are going to go trick or treating during the party, and
Oh, okay. Well, we better get going here.
yeah.
Okay.
Bah humbug.
Oh, you're 2 months early, Matt.
All right, so the news is up next.
It's time for the tech news of the week.
Matt, you said you found 3 articles?
I do have 3 articles.
Yeah, and I think kind of interesting. That one is very interesting. So, Matt,
All
tell
right.
us.
First up, we have an Ars Technica article, and it's Kickstarter pulls the Anabox, which is a Tor-enabled router that raised over $585,000.
Isn't that a Nanobox?
That's what I said, didn't I?
No, you said Anabox.
Oh, a Nanobox, I meant. Sorry. Yeah, $585,000 is what they had raised, and Kickstarter pulled it all up from underneath them.
Because I had just posted that on my Google Plus stream a few days ago. Because 3 days, it was like less than 3 days in, they had reached 1,000% of their goal.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then suddenly it's pulled.
Yeah, Friday
Huh.
afternoon, Kickstarter pulled a fundraiser for a Nanobox. It is an open source embedded networking device designed specifically to run Tor. The developer said that he was not aware that it had been suspended until Ars forwarded him an email from Kickstarter outlining the possible reasons why it could have been canceled.
Really?
Did they
Oh,
list those
man.
reasons? Or, I
Well,
mean, did
the email
to him?
contains those reasons.
Oh, this is going to be
reasons.
interesting this week to find out.
And but David Gallagher, a Kickstarter spokesman, wouldn't explain why a Nanobox was pulled. All he would say was that it was for reasons of company policy. And you know, it's a once and done thing. Once Kickstarter pulls you, that's it. You can't come back. There's no
can't
For
do
there's no
Kickstarter.
there's no Kickstarter changing their mind.
I mean,
Well,
that
for-
That
yeah.
project
That project.
and Kickstarter won't change their mind. That's it.
Huh.
It's once and done.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
You
I
know-
guess it's
you know what the
Indiegogo.
comp-
Here
I-
we come.
You know, I bet the company policy is if the NSA tells us not to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't think of that. It
Feds
might-
knock on our
might
door.
be, yeah. So, yep.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
the Nanobox done.
And speaking of that, I don't mean to cut into your news, but did you see that story about the FBI director that said, he said,
Oh yeah, cell phone encryption.
yeah,
Don't encrypt your cell phones. You're
where
the
you won't look.
The terrorists win when you encrypt your cell phone.
Well, you know, they should have
Yeah.
handled that right the first
Oh,
time, and people,
Jesus.
you know, if they had been upfront and honest the first time, well,
Shame
Wow.
on them.
yeah,
So
all
anyway.
right.
And next up, I have a Tech Dirt article. For judges want to make life harder on patent trolls. They want them to actually have to explain what infringement happened. Cory Doctorow on Boing Boing points our attention to the fact that last month the Judicial Conference voted to make a little noticed change in patent lawsuits that should serve to make life more difficult for patent trolls. This was something that the patent reform proposal was going to do until Senator Harry Reid killed it. But now it looks like the courts are going to take matters into their own hands. The Judicial Conference basically decided to implement rules to require the patent holder to have to actually explain where the infringement occurred. This will bring patent lawsuits more in line with regular lawsuits. So
Wow, that's
there's
nice.
no more, hey, he infringed me. I'm not going to tell you how he infringed me, but I'm telling you he infringed me. No more of that.
Mhm.
They're going to have to say this is how it damaged
This
us.
patent, this patent, and
Well,
this patent.
no, not that, not just that, because they always had to do that. But they're going to have to say this is how we were damaged.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, speaking of that, you recall a few months ago, I think China, the Chinese government had released the patents that.
Yeah, the list that
what-
Microsoft was.
Whatever happened to that?
Microsoft probably squashed it.
I suppose, but okay. Thanks, Matt.
And my last story is from IT Wire, and it's feature creep will ensure that System D stays. A few days ago, Lucas Nussbaum, Debian's project leader, said that System D, the new default init system in Debian, could be avoided and the user could go back to sysv init. Even though he is most likely sincere in his statement, it is most certainly going to become impossible. This is due to feature creep. If it was just an init system, no one would really care. The problem is it tries to be a jack of all trades. It incorporates things like udev, system logging, along with half-baked replacements for NTBD, cron, auto mount, inetd, and network configuration. Plus, they just recently announced a console daemon to replace the kernel's virtual terminals. It's ridiculous. It's becoming the system D kernel. It's horrible. It's just taken over everything. I'm really considering a move to system D, or I may not have to. I mean FreeBSD, but I may not. But I may
Good
not
thing you
have
cleared
to.
that up. I
Right,
thought,
right,
wait,
right.
Wait.
But I may not have to. And it is insanity, in my opinion. Why would you want to break the rule of one small tool to do one job? But there is a movement in Debian. If Debian goes with System D to fork Debian, and you can read about that at debianfork.org.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. So.
Oh, that.
All right.
Stay tuned.
Yep.
Because that discussion isn't
this
over.
System D mess is not over.
Okay.
Anyway, there we are.
Well, that's a perfect segue to a news story that I have.
All right.
Because you recall Linus Torvalds' heavy-handed comments on was it Kay Severs, I think, or somebody who had, I think it was a system
I think it was
D
against
developer.
Kay Severs
Yeah,
for System D.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and he because some change or something in it broke the user
Right.
land.
Yes, it broke something in userland, and that's totally forbidden in kernel development.
So Linus Torvalds came down pretty heavily, and he's never really talked much about that after.
No, this wasn't
afterwards.
Kay Severs. It was.
Was it?
No. This was somebody else with a
Okay.
totally different. This is unsystem D related. But go ahead.
Anyway, he never really talked about that discussion since, and people have moved on. But recently, a System D developer oh, yeah, that's where it is. That's what it was. Yeah.
Leonard
System D
Pottering made that big long freaking G
talk
plus
about
post.
the strong language in the open source community. He mentioned Torvalds by name. He's not known to apologize, so this admission of guilt during LinuxCon is a big step forward. His meaning Torvalds. The moderator asked him what single decision in the last 23 years he would change. And this is what he said. Well, from a technical standpoint, no single decision has ever been that important. The problem tends to be around alienating users or developers, and I'm pretty good at that. I use strong language, but again, there's not a single instance I'd like to fix. There's a metric expletive load of those. So in other words, he's saying that there's a
right.
whole boatload of those. That's what it was, boatload.
Yeah.
He said, one of the reasons we have this culture of strong language that admittedly many people find off-putting is that when it comes to technical people with strong opinions and with a strong drive to do something technically superior, you end up having these opinions show up sometimes in pretty strong language. So he didn't mention anybody by name, but or any specific incident, but the proximity to the complaints issued by Leonard Pottering, the System D developer, seemed to point toward that issue. So anyway, but I thought it was kind of interesting that we remember those instances where Mr. Torvalds has gone.
I don't find anything
Ballistic.
wrong with Mr. Torvald's language. Thank you
No,
very
and
much.
we're all entitled to our opinion, but it was interesting to see him revisit that and talk about that. So
I regret no language I ever used.
okay,
Sure, man.
all right, all right. We're on to the next issue. Next issue. Next news item. We're not talking issues here. We're talking news. Tor browser 4.0 was released a couple of days ago. Of course, those of you who, I believe that's a Firefox browser that has been Torified. Not terrified. Well, actually, it probably terrifies some government agency.
Yeah.
But the browser itself's been Torified. So that's been released. I don't have much more to say about it. But I will have a link to that in the show notes, I promise. I think I was a little bad last time, Tony. Did you notice that? Probably not. Okay, good. So we'll move on. It's got a lot of information there about bug fixes, inclusions, features, etc. So next news item. You recall a few months ago, we talked about Munich and how there was like this rumor or there was this undercurrent of some unhappiness with free and open source software that the city government was using, and that they were thinking of going back to Microsoft.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well,
article.
I think, Matt, I thought you did a pretty good job of kind of putting that to rest, because it was mainly one of
It's
the
all FUD. They got a new mayor, and he was opposed to it from the beginning, so he was making all kinds of noise about how they're going to go back to Microsoft, but
yes,
it's not going to happen.
Exactly, and that's this article that came out this past week basically reaffirmed that, because they said there's no factual basis for the claims made by first mayor and second mayor. An evaluation of the IT infrastructure and processes is underway, but they're not going to go back to that, at least at this point. So anyway,
All right.
so I'll post a link to that. The other article I've got, or news item I have, is that Mozilla has a new magazine out, new online magazine called The Open Standard. It's really nice, a lot of big pictures, but a couple
And that's how we judge our technical magazines.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, I think there was an article on urban farming in here that
Urban farming.
well, how open technology helps urban farming. See, there's that
That's
angle.
right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's really kind of a broad base. I mean, anything you could apply open technology to, they'll write about.
Kind of like a open source shotgun.
Kinda. Yeah, a lot of little pellets all over the place. Anyway, but then this other article here is Cars Grow Smarter, Automakers Face Rising Threat. So, clearly, well, heck.
And people worry
Can you
about
imagine
this.
that? You want to
And
go
there
to a
was
Dunkin' Donuts
one of
and
the-
somebody hacks your car and they force you to some
They
Weight
don't-
Watchers place?
Oh my gosh, you're feeding the bud. But anyway, no. And like one of the shows I just binge watched the whole first season of it in a weekend was The Blacklist.
Okay.
And a guy hacks the car there, and he's like does it from like blocks away. You have to be within Bluetooth range, which is very close to hack a car.
Well, what if you strung a bunch of Bluetooth
Oh my
connections?
God, stop.
Or-
Just stop.
If
I
somebody's
said that as a
cell
joke.
phone's
I
connected
said
to it,
that-
you hack the cell phone first and then get into the car.
Yeah, there you go.
You could do that from anywhere in the world.
You
Thanks,
probably
Tony.
could.
Thanks
But
for
that's not
furthering the,
how this guy did it on the show.
Oh,
All right.
All right.
All right. So anyway, but so getting back to the original thing, that's Mozilla's new magazine, The Open Standard. So we'll have a link to that in the show notes.
Cool.
And I got KDE Corner in a little bit, but that's all I've got.
But Tony, I think, has some news.
Yeah, he does.
Tony?
I do.
I guess not.
Well, I looked up poodle, and I found a white
It's a
paper
cute
on
French
it.
dog.
Right.
And they're smart too.
Yeah. Well, I looked up poodle and I found a white paper. So I'm posting that. Links in the show notes. But it talks about how it uses downgrade steps to
Yeah,
or
it's actually
handshakes and
the compromised machine has to be local, and then it forces the server to back up to V3 is what it does.
Yeah. Yeah. So they said to be able to get around it, disable version 3 of SSL.
Yeah, that's all you got to do is
And-
on the server side disable version.
Right. And then, but if you can't, it says, where did it go? It says if the attack above requires SSL3 to be established, so disabling SSL3 protocol in the client or in the server or both will completely avoid it. If either supports only SSL3, then hope is gone.
Abandon hope.
Yeah,
That's right. So I thought that
all
was
ye
interesting.
who enter here.
Um, and that's what made me think about, there's a lot of the security flaws is backwards compatibility. And if we could figure out a reliable way to be able to drop backwards compatibility and get only the newer security things working.
You know, you can remain backwards compatible and close bugs. It's not always bad. I mean, and backwards compatibility is good, but it's bad if you take it too far. Like they had stuff in OpenSSL that was incredibly ancient.
Right.
So
Yeah, and then what happens is the backwards compatibility is put there, and then nobody's going back and retesting that stuff. And
right.
So,
Mhm.
so yeah, so it's
Well,
a combination.
The bad guys are.
Right. That's right. But that's all I've had for today. So Mary,
What's in with the KDE corner?
Hey, well, KDE 4.14.2 was released, and
We didn't have a KDE release party.
well, that's the major number, 14 part,
Oh, okay.
because otherwise we'd have one every 3 weeks.
Oh yeah. Well,
We gotta
I'm
check
up
out-
for that.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to drink some
we,
beer every 3 weeks.
we have to check out that Hopcat place.
That's
when it
right.
opens up. But anyway, so I know that my Kubuntu workstation at home just got upgraded, and then also, the KDE Frameworks 5, which I believe is a successor to the KDE 4 series. Fedora 20 has got it installed, or at least it's available in Fedora 20. And I think I'm gonna install that and test it out. Maybe I'll just run it off the live CD though. I'm joking, everyone. No, but I'm not joking about checking it out. So there's that item, and then also the last little KDE item I've got. There's something called K-Trax, which is a tool for tracking your activity, so that you can kind of keep up with all the activity, how much work you're doing, how many calories you're expending, that type of thing. So that is coming, or it's going to be coming. And I believe what they're going to probably do is take some work that had been previously done and had sat somewhat dormant because the original developer had passed away, and so they may end up using some of that in it. But anyway, so that's a little item, and I think that's all I really have. So it's a
All
little
right.
light on the KDE corner, but that's okay.
Well, thanks, Mary.
And there's no Is It Alive this week,
Okay,
because we have it right now.
that's right. So up next is
It's listener feedback time.
listener feedback. So,
Yes.
listener feedback. We've had a few emails, and Matt, you
A
were
few. I only got one.
So Tony, we're
Um,
going to rely on you to share it with us, because I saw one.
Oh, you know what? I was reading there was comments from previous shows, which then I read the date was in September, so that wasn't for this show. So
Right.
Matt, you were talking about it from Scott, right?
Yes, Scott took us to task, and it's quite long. So I'm going to read the party addresses to me, and I'll leave Mary read the party addresses to her.
Oh, well, it was only about me complaining about the
I don't
partition.
know what it was.
I don't have the email. On this
First of
issue.
all, he says I keep seeing Waylon when I mean Mir, and he's right. I confuse Waylon and Mir constantly, so that's my fault totally. But he doesn't like the way I say that Leonard Pottering forced System D on Red Hat, and he did force it on Red Hat. He forced it through Red Hat. He got it through Red Hat. He was successful, and now it's being forced on the rest of us. So I stand by that statement. So, and he also takes me to task for saying I didn't use uh, uh,
System D.
System D because I run Fedora, and he's right. I do run Fedora, but I don't use it the way you would on a server where you're working with it, and that's why I set up
Hmm.
that server to test, to see how it worked. And I really, really am unhappy with it. I'm just gonna say that unhappy, unhappy. So
Hmm.
some you were founded some there, but and I stand by the fact that shell shock is not a bug; it is a feature, and it was a documented feature. So again, we'll agree to disagree, Scott, because I like you a lot. Have a good day.
All right.
Yeah, and
So Mary, the next one it says how Mary disses the Fedora
Fedora
installer
installer
because of the
partitioner.
partitioner.
Yeah, well, the thing of it is that we have Scott, an individual who is well versed in Linux, who knows it
Well,
inside
and
out,
Fedora.
and Fedora
He
too.
maintains a
Yes,
Fedora spin.
yes, he and there's no getting around that. But you have to remember, sometimes you have to step out of that knowledge and approach it from a different perspective as someone who doesn't have all that knowledge. And how would they get through that process? And there may be some minor tweaks, but they still got some work to do, in my opinion. And it doesn't take anything away from Fedora being a cutting edge, great distro at
I
all.
love it. I'll tell you.
And I'm going to be looking at
Because
it
it's
next
set
time,
it and forget it, and it just doesn't
Mhm.
break. It's great.
which is kind of
It's a great distro.
which is kind of surprising, not because you'd expect Fedora to break, but when you're using cutting edge stuff.
Right, because it's so bleeding edge. It's right
Yeah,
there on
and
here.
so that means they must be doing something right as far as how they conduct their testing to get it out there so quickly for people. But for it to be pretty stable for being such a bleeding edge. But again, I stand by my comments that the installer is not intuitive for just regular users. Um, and I don't mean to diss it. I'm just stating my opinion. I didn't earlier today when I had an opportunity and Matt set me up. I had no comment, and that's pretty much it. But I'm always happy to take a look at it again if they make changes. And again, I think Ubuntu's partition manager and their install is the best one for regular, quote unquote, regular users. If you're a sysadmin, you probably do it from the command line.
Yes, I was gonna say. You know
And
what? I
more
like
power to
my
you.
favorite installer was Debian N curses.
Hmm. And you remember it was a few months ago where we talked about how you could partition your drive very easily from the command line using percentages.
I don't remember talking
I,
about that at all.
I did because I talked about it.
Okay.
And I tested it at home. Yeah, I was able to just from the command line using the partitioner from the command
Which
line.
partitioner? F
Oh,
disk?
um,
CF disk?
no, it was something else. I'd have to go look. Maybe it was CF disk. I have to go back and
CF
look.
disk is the easiest command line
Mhm.
partitioner, and it uses N curses. So, but it rounds, and that if you're trying to duplicate an existing partition set from another drive, you can't
Yeah.
do it.
No, but
That
this
you
was
have
just
to use F
percentages,
disk.
and I was able to just set that up, and it was great. So
Cool.
anyway, but regular users, all right.
All right.
So anyway, but thanks to your comments, Scott. I hope I didn't offend you.
Yeah, we
Um,
love you, Scott.
yeah, yeah. Thanks for those Breaking Bad episodes.
That's right.
So anyway, all right,
He
we're moving on.
he also replied to one of the thing I said that how is CentOS different from RHEL, and he says that the biggest answer is CentOS now has more money to do things like
Yeah.
go to conferences and have build servers. And they said one of the things that Red Hat did was to release their sources. Is they're releasing it through the CentOS GitHubs.
Right.
But if you want more of the traditional RPM sources, then you still have to go through RHEL. You have to have a RHN account. So that's good
Mm.
info. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
All right. That's all I have.
Yeah. Same here.
Same here. I guess
I guess we're on to.
we're on to
Featured music of the week.
the music this week.
Yes.
And Mary sent me this one, and it sounds very cool. It's called Back in the Future, the Acid Edit.
Yeah. It
Acid
sounded
edit.
rough around the edges.
I liked it.
I thought
Even
Matt.
though it was
Yeah.
techno, I liked it.
Yeah. As soon
It's
as I
called-
heard it, I thought, this will pass. This will pass Matt Ender's seal of approval. This will get it.
Right, and it's by Is a Dreammaker. I don't know. It's one word that sounds like Is the Dream Maker. I don't know. So here we go.
Let me tell you, with some bass, with some
Got a
bass,
subwoofer going?
you got to have a subwoofer to really appreciate this song.
Assuming you're getting a new laptop, so maybe it'll sound better.
Yeah. All right.
Let's get a rave going.
I have my glow sticks.
That's right. Yeah, I'm just joking. All right. So if you want to listen to the full song, you can go see the show notes or download our show, and the full song will be at the end. And we are coming to the end now.
Yes, we are.
So you've been listening to the Sunday Morning Linux Review. This was episode 137.
OLF prep
Yeah.
or
Yep.
something like
Ohio Linux Fest.
Prep.
Prep.
Oh, and we didn't even talk about Ohio Linux
Nope.
Fest, did we?
Well, we can do that now. It's coming
Yeah.
up next
A
weekend.
little bit at the beginning we did.
Yeah, I did a
bit.
little bit when we were
Yeah.
talking about PCB.
Yeah, we
gonna be
talked
there.
about,
we talked
and,
about
Oh,
that.
and
yeah.
how
Yeah.
Friday that
Friday.
we talked about the
Mhm.
keynote
Right.
speaker on Friday.
Yeah, where were you, Tony?
Where were you? Yeah, I thought you were sitting right there.
But we're coming down Friday afternoon. Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about it.
Mhm.
Getting down there about noonish.
Yep.
We're staying at the Crown.
The Crown Royal or the
Royal.
Royal Crown or something.
Crown
Yeah.
Royal.
Crown Plaza.
You'll be drinking
Crown
some
Plaza. That's it.
Yeah, I'll be drinking some Royal Crown.
Hey, Crown Royal.
Crown Royal.
God, I can't believe I had to correct your
I'm
reference to
telling
an
you.
alcohol. Just kidding. That's where I'm staying.
Really?
Oh, are you? I thought you said you were staying at the Hyatt.
I did too.
Oh, maybe I am. I better check.
It's only across the street,
I'm
so it's
checking
still
at the
very
same-
close.
I'm checking
Really?
at the
Because
same.
I called them and they said they were 15 minutes away from the convention center.
I looked it up on the map, and they're literally on the other side of the street,
Maybe I
or
called
maybe
the wrong
they're a
hotel.
street down. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, good. I'm glad I wasn't the only one who had a hotel gap. All right. So anyway,
So,
all right.
all right. Yep. So this is Tony Bemis.
Matt Enders
And Mary Tomich.
saying same Matt time, same Matt channel. And that's going to sound good eventually, I guess.
The last part did. You had problems getting your name out.
All right. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. All right.